Thank you.
You are live, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
I think we should be good. So, if you're good to go, Sloaters, if you want to give a countdown or introduce the run or anything.
Yeah, so I'm Sloaters. I just did that Super Metroid race, and now immediately hopping into this game. We're in the Blind Forest, and it is also a Metroidvania game, much like Super Metroid. And this category I'm going to be doing is called All Skills, which is kind of like an any percent. Basically, I'm going to pick up all the major progression items and then beat the game kind of no major glitch style. So, yeah, I guess if you're ready, I'll do a little countdown right now.
Whenever you're ready.
Alright, in 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so there's a little prologue in this game. There's a little bit of gameplay in it, but you have the option to skip it, so as speedrunners, you know we're always going to skip that. First thing you see on the screen here, if you look at the bottom, there's a little UI. In the center of the UI, there's a ring that fills up as you gain experience, and once you fill up the whole ring, you get a level up. To the right of that, there's 3 little life cells, which is basically my health, and to the left soon, you'll see some blue circles for energy cells like that. I'm actually going to have the UI off for most of this run because text boxes like that energy cell one that just popped up just don't show up if you have the UI off. And it just saves time not mashing through any of that stuff. But anyways, we're up here to the first skill of the game, which is Spirit Flame, and we're also picking up our companion Sign, who is going to guide us through the forest here. This is pretty much going to be your main weapon until you pick up some more skills throughout the run. And like most Metroidvania games, you're going to put it to use pretty much right away. So at this point, I'm basically just going to go pick up a couple of skills and then work my way over to the first dungeon of the game. So as you can see, the movement is pretty basic so far. It's just running and jumping. Not really much speed tech here, besides every 3 jumps you do continuously, Ori actually does like a little flip, which is just barely faster than walking normally, so you'll probably see me hop around quite a bit here, just to save a couple frames here and there. And we're coming up to the first trick here, called a ghost door. So I just picked up a couple of keys that open up these gates, and after you put the keys in, it kind of takes a second for the door to open. But if you actually place a save down, and then kill yourself either by going in the poison water like I just did, or jumping into an enemy, when you respawn, the door is actually open, and it saves like a second or two, so just a little tiny way to save time here. You'll see me do that a couple of times with different gates we see throughout the run. And right now I'm going to pick up this key, but I'm actually not going to be using it for quite some time. There's some other keys that you need to pick up later in order to progress, but they take a really long time, so grabbing this one and using it for later speeds things up quite a bit. Alright, and you'll see I'm kind of turning my UI on and off kind of frequently, and what I'm checking on is my experience, because leveling up in this game does a couple useful things. For one, it refills all of your health and all of your energy, and it also does kind of an explosion attack that pretty much destroys everything around you. And I'm going to use it a couple of times in this run to sort of speed up some areas so I don't have to sit around and shoot a bunch of stuff in my way. Ooh, so I don't have quite enough experience. I'm just going to get a little bit more off here. There's a level up. And as you can see, all those brambles just are nothing to me now. So now, there's one more skill I want to go pick up, which actually is in an optional area of the game. You don't need to go there for to complete the game at all, but it's a very important skill to get early on because it is dash, and like the name implies, it makes you go a lot faster, but there's also a lot of really important tech that comes later in the run where you need to have dash to use it. And I'm coming up to this area now, Blackroot Burrows, and there's about a 20-second cutscene that plays here, but I'm going to do a little trick to skip it. So I'm going to open my ability menu here, and I'm going to try to proceed and exit the menu at the same time. And what this does is it tricks the game into thinking I've exited the menu, but I actually still have it open. I'm going to walk over to where this cutscene triggers, spend an ability point, which will save my game, and then if I quit and reload, the game already thinks I've watched the cutscene because it checks the flag that that says you've watched it right at the start of the trigger. So I can just walk right through there now and skip a good 20-second cutscene. And this area here, Blackroot Burrows, it's kind of scary. As you can see, it's really dark right now, and there's a lot of spikes and stuff everywhere. So it's pretty common to die in this part of the run just because there's so much going on. But it's kind of boring, sorta, because there's just a lot of platforms you have to wait for, and it's a lot of standing around. But it can still be a little tricky sometimes. Alright, looking at my experience, I'm pretty close to where I want to be. I think I'm going to kill one extra enemy on the way to the next area I'm going, just to be sure I have enough. This next part is kind of the big first like major sequence break of this run. I think there's probably like 2 or 3 depending on how you look at it. So I'll explain that a little bit once I get closer. So no issues in Blackroot Burrows, which is awesome. Now all I need to do is just put this orb here up on this pedestal, and the light will kind of come back on and I can get access to the dash ability. So dash is really great because when you're on the ground, it just lets you move so much faster. There's a little speed tech called dash gliding. If you initiate a dash and then release all directional input and do a jump within, I think, like 10 frames or so, you do a jump and you kind of maintain your momentum. It's a little slower than just dashing normally, but it's a lot better than just like dashing and then jumping while holding the direction you're going. So you'll see me use that quite a bit in these areas to kind of get over some gaps. Now this next trick, the sequence break I was talking about, is called Frankie Walk. The game wants me to head over to the left side of this area and go through a bunch of different rooms, go through a cutscene, and it kind of takes me the long way around the first dungeon I'm going to visit. But there's kind of a creative way to get around this. So, like I mentioned earlier, when you level up, your energy gets refilled, and there's a gate up here which requires 4 energy to open, but I only have access to 2 energy cells at this point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lure this Frankie all the way over to this gate, and once I'm up at the gate, put 2 of my energy cells in here, kill this Frankie, take the experience, get my energy refunded from the level up, and be able to open this door. Now, another really scary part of the run with a lot of poisonous water. a lot of spikes and falling rocks everywhere. Ooh, I try to go for a dash glide there to get across all these brambles, but didn't quite get it. And now I can get another energy cell up here, which will let me save my game again. Alright, well, we're out of the spooky parts for now. Now I'm just kind of waiting on these crushers. There's a way you can actually get up here before that first crusher comes up, and it saves about 8 seconds, but it is not a trick I'm very good at. So it doesn't surprise me I missed it. You'll see I'm kind of intentionally damaging myself down here. That's so I can do this ghost door here a little bit faster. And now we're coming up to the next skill I'm going to get, which is double jump. And funny enough, it doesn't actually give you much vertical height with the double jump, but it's more so increasing your horizontal distance when you jump, so it'll let you get across a gap like that if you didn't dash glide like I just did. The other cool thing about double jump, though, is it makes wall jumping a little bit faster, because instead of just jump, jump, jump up against the wall, you can do double jumps in between them, which kind of gets you back over to the wall faster. And here's kind of another little sequence break. So you're supposed to go over to the left side here, and you go through kind of a chase sequence with Gumo, the guy who's holding the key to the first dungeon. But there's kind of a tricky wall jump here that I just did, and it effectively skips most of this area. And I'm going to do another cutscene skip here, not only to save time, but it actually prevents a bunch of rocks falling down in this area here, which just makes this part like trivial. And if we watch the cutscene, we would see Gumo up here pull this lever, and all these rocks would fall down. And I'll do another little cutscene skip just to save a couple more seconds. And unfortunately I cannot skip this one, but fortunately Gumo is giving me the water vein, which allows me to enter the Jinzo tree, which is the first kind of dungeon of this game. And because I'm coming through this area backwards, you'll kind of see Gumo and the water vein kind of in weird spots, and cutscenes playing out of order.
By the way, feel free to let me know when I can read some donations, because we have some.
Okay, yeah, we're coming up to a good spot. Alright, got another level up there. That's good. And I'm gonna grab one more thing before I head into the Jinzo tree. Kind of another finicky wall jump, like that one to skip the Moon Grotto. This one's a little bit easier to do. And also, I'm gonna go over here to this save well. I'm not actually gonna be using it, but this teleporter is the closest one to the final dungeon of the game. So later on, after I pick up all the skills and I'm ready to finish, it'll be a convenient place for me to teleport back to. And all I have to do is just run on top of it like I did in order to activate it as a teleporter. And one more cutscene skip to save a little bit of time, and I'll be heading into the Jinzo tree, which pretty much just tests all the skills you picked up at this point in the game. And if you want, you can go ahead and read some donations right now.
Okay. So we have a couple here. Let me pull these up. So we have $250 from Natters yet again, who says, hey, ship Pan May and MEI May and get to 10K. Hype. Money goes to Streamer's Choice, which we had decided that, and it went to the Tony letter. Thank you for your donation. We have $50 from Antinomy, otherwise known as Sephi, that says, anything for Power with Pride and Alley. Pride! We also have $100 from JP with no message, but thank you, JP. And we have another $30 from Sephi that says, I never get to donate to my boy Sloaters, but I'm glad he's running a game that he loves for this event. Good game, my guy. Good luck and wish you the best run. Shoutouts to all Power Up with Pride company and audiences. I love you. Quote me.
Thank you, Sephi.
Oh, and exciting news. The incentive to read the Tony letter during Earthbound has been met.
Alright, so this is kind of one of the few mini-bosses in this game. I didn't mention it earlier, but when you use the Spirit Flame, it's actually most effective to kind of pace your shots out rather than spamming it, because it has kind of a cooldown. This is not something I'm very good at, so this fight usually takes me probably longer than average. But I didn't die, so that's okay. And I also got my level up when I wanted it. So we're in good shape.
So I'm being told that I might be quiet on your end, Sloaters?
Do you want me to turn you up?
Yeah, sure.
Alright. Alright, turned you up a bit.
Awesome, thank you.
And now we have probably the coolest skill in this entire game that makes this game really cool. Bash. And it's kind of a unique skill that I'm not really sure any other game has done something like this. But basically, you can sort of shoot yourself off of enemies, projectiles, and kind of some other things in the environment. And not only that, but when you do it off of like the enemies and the projectiles, it actually flings them in the opposite direction, which is gonna be pretty critical for some tricks later on. Now I'm doing a trick here called key dupe. As you see, I just kind of intentionally died there, but I placed 3 keys inside of that gate up there, and by dying while those keys were inside the gate, the game actually gave me the keys back when I respawned again. So after picking up these 4 keys again, I actually have 3 from the key dupe that I did. And like I said earlier, there's some areas where getting the keys kind of takes a really long time, so it's pretty useful to grab extra keys when you can. And that is good XP. I'm gonna want to do another level up here. So at the top of all this corruption, on the left and right side, there's kind of 2 cores you have to take out. And the one on the right side, the room you have to go through is just really long, and it's not fun to do. So what I'm gonna do is actually plan a level up out right here. I'm gonna stand as close as I can to the right side, and that level up actually broke both of the corruption cores, so I don't even have to go down that right side now. And now we're starting the Jinzo escape, which is one of the really cool parts of this game. It just looks really cool, the music's great, so I'll just kind of let it play out. Alright, now we're in the swamp area and just gotta wait a little bit now. If you want to read some donations, go ahead.
I do not have any donations currently, but I will say that we are only $96 away from 8K. Do you think we can get 8K before Ori has been beaten?
I think we can. Alright, now we're coming up to the next skill, Stomp, which, it's kind of one of the few skills that gives you another weapon to use. You can kind of just stomp on enemies, and it's, in a lot of cases, way more effective than the Spirit Flame. But it also helps me travel downwards really fast, which you'll see in just a second. Okay, so I have to do kind of a trick to get out of this area. The game expects you to have the skill Charge Flame by now, which I do not have. And you want to use Charge Flame to break a block, which will drain the water and let me use Stomp on this pillar that's right below me right now. But since I don't have Charge Flame, I have to do something a little interesting. So I placed a save above that platform, and while in the middle of a stomp, I saved my game and reloaded. And the game spawned me as low as possible, which was right above that pillar, but it remembered that I was still in the middle of a stomp, so it actually allowed me to stomp underwater, and I was close enough to that pillar to break it, because normally if you try to stomp into water like that, it just kind of stops right there. So that's kind of a neat trick they call Drainless to get through that section. And now I'm going to go for a little bit of a different cutscene skip here. Okay, I'm going to try it one more time because it's still save time. Basically, you have to get into a pretty precise position and then get a pretty precise bash angle. And we got it that time. I think that saves about 20 seconds. If you have to try it again, it's not quite as good, but still, that's pretty cool that I pulled it off at least once. And I'm picking up my 5th energy cell now. Oh, that was a little scary. And do another cutscene skip here, and we'll be coming up to the next skill shortly. Charge Flame, which is supposed to be like the second one you get in the game, so I'm kind of coming through this area in a strange order. And I'm going to lure this Frankie down here a little bit so I can bash off of them and get out of this area quickly. And I have another cutscene up here, so I'm gonna use my trick with the ability tree menu here in order to save my game once this cutscene starts. I'm actually gonna get 2 abilities. One of them is Air Dash, which just lets me dash in the air. And that's gonna be especially important when I come up to this next area where I try to sequence break into the Sorrow Pass area. Take a little bit of damage there. Fortunately, I picked up a extra life cell in the beginning of the run, or else that would have one-shotted me. Just to be safe, I'm going to do a couple safety saves here. This is a pretty bad spot to take a death without any safeties. And I'll drop another one right here. I'm going to be attempting a really cool trick here called Fast Stompless. So the game wants you to go over and stomp on a bunch of rocks, which triggers a cutscene. But I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to send a projectile over to the rocks, and as the projectile is heading over there, I'm going to make my way all the way back to this ability cell. And as you can see, I managed to pull it off, so the game just warped me over to where this cutscene is supposed to be. And with that ability point I just picked up, I can now get the ability Charge Dash, which is the greatest ability in this game, and it's going to let me do a lot of things. Charge Dash is basically dash, but it charges at enemies, and usually does a lot of damage to them. And there's some interesting things you can do with this. If you do a charge dash and jump at the same time, you kind of cancel the charge dash and you fly up super high like that. You can do that going upwards and downwards, but it doesn't really work going left to right. And you'll see I'm kind of trying to get these birds. Ooh, okay. Messed up a little bit there. So normally when you're in this area, you cleared out the Forlorn Ruins, which restores all the wind, and you can use the new feather ability I just picked up to kind of just fly up this cavern. But because there's no skills in Forlorn, I don't have much reason to go there, so I have to do this kind of precise trick here called Sorrow Bash, which is probably the most difficult part in this run. And this whole section here is kind of scary, so I'm going to pick up some extra energy and do a couple safety saves. This is why we safety save. So what I want to do here is I want to use this frog's projectile to break another pillar like I did earlier. And so I need to put this boulder here so this lava goes away. Ooh. Boy. And it's kind of tricky. You need to be pretty fast or else you know, you'll shoot the frog way off to the side and you won't be able to catch him. There we go. So now I'm just going to bash this frog all the way up here. Now I got him up on this platform, so I'm going to fly all the way up here, draw his projectile up there, do a rocket jump off of him. And almost all the way to the top. And with that experience there, I can level up. So I'll be able to spend another ability point here and be able to skip this cutscene.
If you have a second, I have a donation for you.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
We have $25 from Kip that says, "Great event, MGG Sloaters."
Thank you, Kip. Oh, okay. Those lasers, they're kind of on a cycle, and apparently I didn't get up at the right time for them to not be there. That's okay, because conveniently I just saved my game. And when I went to the top of this area here in Sorrow Pass, I actually picked up the Sunstone, which opens the final dungeon of the game. Although there's two more skills for me to pick up, not counting this one, which are Climb and Light Burst. And while I don't really need them to beat the game because this is all skills, I gotta go grab them anyways. But they do let you do a pretty cool trick, which I'll talk about more when I get there. But now I'm just going to be heading over to Misty Woods to pick up the Climb skill. Then I'll be heading back into Blackroot's Burrow to pick up Light Burst, and then it's just a straight shot to the end of the game. Oop, definitely want that ability cell. I'm gonna do another rocket jump here. I think we call that one a meteor kick if you're going downwards. Ooh. And this part of the game, I think most people agree, is like the most fun, just because you have all of your movement abilities, and you can just move so quickly through this area. That was a pretty nasty death. Fortunately, I didn't quite aim my rocket jump where I wanted, so I hit a bunch of spikes. This game gives you a lot of freedom to save pretty much wherever you want if you have the energy for it, but it comes at the cost of not being able to use that energy, do the rocket jumps, or use charge dash, or use your charge flame ability. Oh, that was, I didn't want to stop there, but okay. Alright, pick up that ability cell again. And we'll head back into Misty. Hopefully this time I don't take a lot of damage.
I may have an important donation for you, Sloaters.
Go ahead.
We have $71 from Poppy, who says, here's to 8K, and also to naming the Pokemon Spazer. Good luck on the run, Sloaters.
Thank you, Poppy. So yeah, if you ever watch some of the top tier players go through this section, it is unbelievable the way they move. It really shows off the tech that this game has to offer. And now I am just about at my next skill, which is climb. It's kind of useful, but with wall jump, you might not use it a lot. But like I said, it's a skill that we need to pick up, and it also lets us do some crazy tricks later. And throughout this area, they kind of want you to use climb to get through all these puzzles, but with all this movement tech I have, it's just not necessary, and I can just blast through here. Drop a little safety save there. And now I'm going to be coming up to the last mini-boss of the run, and we'll see if I can get a one cycle here. It's kind of tricky the way I do it. And I got it, wow. Yeah, so that fight's supposed to be a little bit longer normally, but with all these abilities I have, you can get kind of creative and take them out pretty quick. And with that, the way out of Misty Woods is now open. Normally you're supposed to grab an orb and take it to a pedestal, which gives you a key into Forlorn Ruins, but like I said, I don't need to go there, so I don't even need to mess with that. And I'm going to use this teleporter here to head over to Sunken Glades and head back into Blackroot's Burrow, so I can pick up the last skill of the game, which is Light Burst. I'm going to do a quick save here to refill on my energy. And you'll see I intentionally died there. What I did was I put a save over that lever, and while I was pushing it, which keeps the lever pushed after I respawn. And that lever basically lifts up a column, which is the exit of this area. And I'll do another cutscene skip here. That one is a pretty long one. And now we're coming up to the last skill, which is Light Burst. And it's kind of funny. For a while, this skill was pretty much useless for speedrunners, because all it really does is throw a little light grenade, which kind of homes in on enemies. So no one really used it for a while, but then, I'm not sure when, but sometime in like the last year or two, they figured out that, if you are climbing up on a wall and you try to do a charge jump, 1 frame after you try to throw a grenade, for some reason, you like keep the momentum of like the grenade and you just like shoot super far horizontally, and you can actually use it on your way to the last dungeon here, but it's a pretty difficult trick to pull off, so I don't really like to do that. But in the very last escape sequence of the game, you can actually save about I think it's a little over 30 seconds if you do a grenade. It's called a grenade jump. If you do that over the last cutscene area. So hopefully I'll be able to get that. I'll have quite a few tries since I have so much energy. Take a little bit of XP there. Oops. And because I did that cutscene skip earlier, I actually can't walk over that area unless I go over top like that, or else I'll trigger it. So that's an important thing to remember if you ever skip that cutscene, to not walk through that area like normal. And now I'm coming up to the final dungeon of the game. And this is kind of interesting. So the game here wants you to go and do this dungeon. You climb to the very top and you kind of do all these rooms to lower all the lava in the room. And eventually you get to the very bottom where you start, and that's like the door to the final escape sequence. But there's an interesting glitch here where if you have a save loaded at the doorway like that, and you try to enter the door on the frame the game loads, it actually just loads you at the very bottom of the room, and you just bypass all of those rooms that they want you to clear. And fortunately I got it first try. It's pretty tough because it's a frame perfect trick like that grenade jump. So that was pretty cool. But now we're moving on to the final escape sequence. Like the Jinzo tree escape sequence, it's all about just using all the techniques they've given you, and it's pretty punishing if you fall behind a little bit, because as you can see, Kuro here, the main antagonist, is just chasing me around. And now I'm approaching the end of this escape sequence, and like I said, I'm going to be trying to do a grenade jump here right before the last cutscene trigger, and if I do it right, it'll shoot me really far, and it'll skip part of this cutscene. And we got it. You can actually soft lock there if Ori kind of boomerangs back over to the left side. You just get soft locked for some reason. I'm not really sure why, but you went all the way to the right there, so all is well. And now all I have to do is hold right, and once I lose control of Naru here, that'll be time. And time.
GG, Sloaters.
Thank you. So yeah, that is Ori and the Blind Forest, Definitive Edition, all skills, no out of bounds, no TA. It's a really cool run, a lot of cool movement tech, and yeah. Now we're just watching the final cutscenes here. Well, all this story we missed out by having the UI off. So yeah, thank you guys for letting me do this run. I don't play this game a ton, but it's pretty fun, and being able to do it here during this marathon setting, it was pretty cool. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for doing the run. It's a really cool game. You're a good runner, you know?
Yeah, thank you.
If you want to hang around for